This is Pastor Matt Richer with the North Dakota District for Planting of Churches and the Revitalization of Churches for the North Dakota District. Each and every month, as a part of the task force, we do a video, YouTube Google Hangout video with different individuals from across the country on various subjects pertaining to planting of churches and pertaining to the issue of revitalization of churches here for the North Dakota District. Well, this month we're going to tackle a little bit of a different subject, and that subject is this: how do we take a sermon that is preached on Sunday morning and get it online, get it to a podcast, get it onto social media, if you will. Now, I would like to take credit for how we do it here at Zion, but I really can't. I actually learned this setup, which is one of many different ways to do it, this setup of recording the sermon and getting it online through my very good friend, Reverend Michael Hussey, pastor over in Montana. As I was at my previous church, he actually set our church up on this, and so what I'm going to show you is really his setup, the way that he arranged it. So let's get started. Now, one of the assumptions I'm going to have in making this video and explaining this to you is that there's some sort of existing technology in your church already. Now, most pastors have, generally speaking, they have some sort of independent microphone system. Here at Zion, we happen to use the Garth Brooks or Britney Spears microphone that I call, and that goes over my ear. And this cord goes down into a transmitter such as this. Whether it's over your ear or a lapel system on your shirt, there should be some sort of transmitting system that transmits the frequency from this microphone into a receiver. Now, this is not what's important. It's actually the receiver, the next thing that we'll actually address here, that is the most important aspect. We're at the back of the church here, and what we want to look at is actually look at some of the different receivers. In other words, we want to identify which receiver receives the frequency from that independent microphone system worn by the pastor. In other words, whether that lapel is attached to his shirt or over his ear, where is that sound being projected to? In this instance, when we look at the very back of the church, it's this system right here that is receiving the message, the frequency, the sound from the actual system that is worn by the pastor. Now, I'm going to turn this around on the very back. As you can see, there's a cord, a rather large cord, coming out of the back, and this is the cord that goes to the sound system to project the sound from the pastor over the speakers. But what I want to point you to is this 1/4 inch connection. In other words, there's a female connection that we have right here. I'll focus in, and that's actually a 1/4 inch out frequency. In other words, it allows you to take the frequency from that system, that sound recording system that the pastor is wearing, and not only project it to the sound system in the church, but to exit out of this into another contraption. So if you have that on your system, then you're in luck. Then you can plug in a 1/4 inch jack, which is this, into that system that will capture the sound of the sermon and take it to our next device. Now, what we have before us is a Lambda. Yes, it is a Lexicon Lambda. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this is the next step of getting the sound off of the sound system, off of the lapel system, the recording system of the pastor, into a computer. So obviously we talked just recently about the receiver capturing the sound from that sound system on the pastor, and that 1/4 inch jack then taking the frequency, as you can see, taking the frequency all the way into the Lambda. This Lambda then converts the sound, which is typically in analog format, and it converts it into the computer. So let me give you an example here. Here is the sound system that I wear right here before us, and as you can see, the sound then goes into this machine right here, the receiver, and then it goes into our Lambda. And as you can see, as I tap on it, you can see the frequency. I'm tapping on it right now. It's receiving from there. You can see that it's receiving the tapping, and it's bringing it into this machine. Now, this Lambda is very straightforward. You simply have different jacks on the very back. You come in with a 1/4 inch into this machine. You can adjust your levels, how much you're going to have for input and output. And then this machine then is the key to taking it from your sound system into the computer. And as you can see on the back here, you come in with a 1/4 inch, and then we go out of this machine, this Lexicon, into the computer. And that will get us to our next step. Now, up to this point, we've talked about simply getting the information, the sound from the pastor's lapel system, his microphone system, from the pastor to the receiver, and then from the receiver to the Lexa Lambda. And now we've gone from the Lexa Lambda out of it into the computer with a basic USB input. But now what we have to capture is this. How do we obtain and actually store and save what is being spoken on the hard drive of this computer? In order to do that, we simply use a program called Audacity. It's a free program that you can obtain online, and I will simply click on it right here. You can obtain it for free, Audacity, and I'll put a link for that. And Audacity, with the biggest thing you want to do is make sure you're actually selecting your input from the Alexa Lambda, and I do have that selected. And then it's as simple as just simply hitting record. So we'll just go up here in the corner and we hit the red record button. And as you can see right now, it is what? It is recording. You can see my voice at the very top with the red line, how it's recording. You can also see the frequency lines. As my voice gets louder, it'll get louder on the screen, and as it gets softer, it gets a little softer. I'm going to hit stop on that right now. The unique thing about this Audacity program, it's free, and the second thing is you can simply go on here and you can delete portions of your service that you don't want to upload online. So let's just say you have announcements you want to get rid of. You just simply highlight it like this, and you just simply hit the delete button. It's actually quite, just that simple right there. Or maybe you have a section in there where you have a coughing spell. You just simply highlight that coughing spell that you have right there, and you hit delete, and it's gone. From here now that it's been captured, you can simply do an export under the File tab. There are all sorts of different tutorials online for Audacity, how to use it, but you just simply do an export, and you export it from Audacity to your hard drive, and then from your hard drive it'll go online, and that'll be our next step. Now, up to this point, we've talked about getting the sermon from the microphone system of the pastor to the receiver, then to the Lambda, and then to the computer. But once it's on the computer, it really doesn't do us any good unless it is uploaded from the computer to a podcast hosting company. The one that we have before us is actually called Podbean. It's www.podbean.com. It's one that I've used for several years, and this is a company that will then take your digital audio collection of your sermon, and then you can take it and upload it to them. And once it's uploaded to them, then you can actually go in and format it and create a page. This is the one that I use. It's an archive page of all my sermons and so forth. And you can take it from here, and then you can actually link from here to blogs. You can link from this page to websites. You can even connect this to iTunes itself. But this kind of functions as the place where all the different sermons will be housed and stored online so that you can listen to. And like I said, you can then take each individual sermon. As you can see before, we have last Sunday's sermon and actually the Lent sermon. You can take this and you can embed this into a website. You can embed this sermon into a blog or on Facebook or on Twitter and so forth. And then from there, it disperses to the greater audience. There you have it. We've gone from the pastor's microphone system to the receiver, and then from the receiver to the Lambda lexicon, and then from the Lambda lexicon to the computer, and from the computer, we've gone up to a podcasting hosting site. Now, with that stated, why do we go through all the effort of doing that? And it is a little bit of an effort to get it all set up, but once set up, it runs pretty seamlessly. We actually go through this effort because the Word of God does stuff to us. Yes, the Word of God is that which God uses to create faith in us. The Word of God goes forth and it convicts us of sin through the Word of the law, and then the Word of the gospel comes and it grants us faith. So we do this because the Word is that which creates faith, and it also is that which sustains faith. So we do this for not only our own parishioners who may not be able to make it on a particular Sunday, or maybe a parishioner who is shut in and sick and not able to come, they can hear the word, but we also do it as a way of evangelism for those who may bump into us on social media and so forth. So we use the technology that the Lord has given us to record our sermons and to simply share. So I hope this video helps in just laying out some of the fundamental steps in setting up a possibility of recording your sermons for publicizing in this vastness of our technological world that we live in. So this is Pastor Matt Richard with the North Dakota Task Force on Planting of Churches and Revitalization of Churches. I hope this video helps, and we'll catch you next month with another Google Hangout.